Welcome to the show, mate.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a pleasure having you on. I'm just, as I say, this is the kind of the first of many. I'm stuck in the Shetland Islands, just trying to get as many people on as possible. Just try and tick every box as I can.
Yeah, of course.
Just sitting in here in the lovely Shetland Islands, kind of snowed in, going a wee bit stuck crazy.
Of course.
Crazy, mate.
Is it still pretty bad up there, the weather?
It is, mate. Aye, it's that's 4 days. That's 4 days in the trot now. We've been snowed in, so it's it's a fucking nightmare.
Jeez. So what? When you say snowed in, you just can't get anywhere. It's that bad.
Oh, the roads are actually okay, but it's you can see a bit of black on the road. But when we go to site, it's like coming off a main road and then going up over a hill. Under, over, left, right, and it's like a bloody ice rink. So nobody can access the site. So it's one of the ones, mate. It's a bit of a pain in the arse. But listen, there's nothing you can do about it. Just sit here and eat shit and watch TV.
Yeah, you know? Sounds good.
It's not too bad, mate. And if they want to pay me to sit here and eat shit and do nothing, then batter in, they can be my guest, mate.
Make the most of it, mate.
That's it, mate. So as I say, mate, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Craig.
Listen, today I'm joined by a fucking legend, Tom. Somebody put me onto you a couple of weeks ago, and I'm just kind of digging about. I'm looking to see what everybody's doing, you know, and just see if there's anybody that catches my eye, like people that think like me and people that act like me and have got the same goal. And I saw you first off. Your fucking videos are top notch, absolutely brilliant. I'll send me a few and I'll share them on, mate. You know, because as I say, somebody put me into you a couple of weeks ago. No, literally, but and I just sounded absolutely brilliant, mate.
I mean they're all accessible on the YouTube channel. We have the YouTube channel, which is Unstoppable Mindset. So they're all the videos I've ever done are on there. Anyone that was intrigued or interested, then they could just go straight there and have a look.
That's cool.
I think we got a link. I think we got a link on the Instagram as well. The Instagram, obviously, that you found me on. There's a link in the bio that takes you to the short film we did, the MADMAN, and that's obviously on the YouTube channel. So
I think that was the one. I think that was the one I'd seen was the MADMAN.
Yeah.
Fucking sensational, mate. It's like. See, the way I always think, it's like I always try and think outside the box when it comes to these kind of things, because when it comes to it, mate, I always look at it as if it's not broke, don't fix it. But you know, and I know that mental health in the UK is at a really all-time low. It doesn't matter if you're up in the Shetlands or you're down where you are. Do you know, everybody's bloody suffering. And what I saw from yourself was just a really intelligent guy that's thinking outside the box. Like how do you grab people's attention? B, how do you keep it? And like C, how do you fucking get people by the neck and get your point across, mate? And to me, if anybody hasn't seen it, like, I mean, I've got 3,500 that follow the page, and I'd honestly, you've got to go and see this because it's top notch, absolutely brilliant. So what from me, Tom? What made you do what you're doing, mate? What was the kind of the penny drop moment, pal?
Well, basically, I had a breakdown in 2015, and I was sectioned sort of subsequently because of obviously the signs and the behaviour that I was displaying. I had a pretty horrific night in a hotel room, caused a bit of damage to myself, and so that was pretty brutal, really upsetting, hard for the family, and that was my first real eye-opener to the whole mental health kind of saga, if you want to call it, because up until that point, I hadn't even heard the term. So back in 2015, I hadn't even heard the term mental health at that stage. I had suffered all my life. And again, the term mental health was never used. I tried to take my own life when I was 19. And that was when I started to understand that there was something in me that was just quite dark, that was lurking around all of the time. I had a lot of issues with myself, self-esteem and self-worth. And obviously I was mixed up in recreational party drugs at the time. And they were fueling a negative thought process that was actually just there. So the negative thought process was there. And, you know, through this whole journey, I've self-reflected back on my whole life and come to many sort of discoveries about where I picked this behavior up. But when I finally found drugs, which obviously I really liked, I got really into the music culture in the late 90s, sort of 97, 98. It was raving and Ibiza for me. The drugs then just spiraled it worse. So I had a negative thought process that got even more fierce and louder around the drugs. So again, flashing forward, no mental health terminology was ever used. I had counselling, obviously on and off antidepressants, but it just wasn't a thing. So I kind of got on with it, and I sort of battled on and off, going right forward to a period of 2013. I had a breakup with my ex, which was what I wanted, but it caused a real spiral for me because there was just a period of, you know, animosity and, you know, using the children as a weapon, that kind of scenario. You know, it's a very common scenario, to be fair. And that just caused me to be very, very self-destructive. I was actually using steroids at the time as well. So there was a lot going on in my head. The steroids was a real issue for me. It was a real problem. I was just psychologically addicted. I had a complex about the way I looked, basically, and I couldn't come off of them. And I'd been on them for about 3 years continual. And so there was numerous things. It was like a cocktail and a time bomb waiting to explode, with steroids and cocaine and ecstasy and alcohol and some serious rage that was just following me around permanently. So to the point of the breakdown, then when I went into hospital, then I realised that they were inundated because I actually got let out the next morning. I got stitched up in my arm from what I did to myself, and then they just sent me off. So I was quite sort of shocked at that point about how sort of like they just took it quite lightly, as if they'd seen it all before. At that time, they didn't even know what to do. There wasn't an avenue for me to go down. Like they didn't, you know, send me to see someone. It was just literally discharged the next morning. And then 2 days later, I was sectioned because I just completely lost it. So when I was in hospital, then, you know, you've got all the people in there from all walks of life. And that was the kind of moment for me. I was like, oh my God, this is like a real thing. Like I was in hospital with solicitors, with young kids that have been abused, with like shop workers from Sainsbury's. And it was a crazy time and a real eye-opening time. And it was this downfall that triggered an amazing journey. And it was some sort of 14 to 16 months later where I started the process of rebuilding myself. And I chose running as a kind of a method of therapy. That was my therapy. And it was this process that spawned what you have seen, which was the MADMAN. It was the first time I started to become aware when I was running, and I chose long distance. And through the long distance, there was this kind of negative voice, like self-defeating, self-limiting voice of like, oh, maybe we shouldn't run today. Maybe we should take a shortcut. It's raining. Maybe we shouldn't go out in the rain. And for the first time, I had a real heightened sense of awareness of that voice, that inner voice, and a real strong fire and determination inside of me not to listen to it in any single way. So through running miles and miles and miles and miles, ignoring the voice, I had what you could call a sort of a little epiphany moment where I realized that actually this thought process, it doesn't have to be adhered to. You don't have to follow what it says. And actually, a lot of what it says is self-limiting, self-sabotaging. And that if you can ignore it long enough with the view of, you know, moving forward with your life and, you know, rebuilding the mind and learning new habits and installing new behavioral patterns, if that's your kind of, you know, your focus and you're so determined on that, then you do actually, you know, you do get there. You do start to install these habits and these new behavioral patterns, and that's how the Madman was created as a character.
So see, I'm desperate to get to the Madman, right?
Yeah.
But see, from me, mate. I mean, I spoke about it a couple of times on the podcast, but the way that I look at it is, I always say it's like the. Have you ever seen the video from New Zealand? And it's anxiety and depression, and it talks about the big black dog.
Okay.
Have you ever seen that?
I think actually I have, because they show it in the construction.
Yeah. So see, with that, I mean, I'm a construction worker by trade myself.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you said
I was showed this video, and I thought that was brilliant, because it's like, even from myself, mate. I mean, I've not had a drink in just over 4 years. Exact same mental breakdown.
Amazing, yeah.
Ex-missus telling you you're a bit of shit, and if somebody tells you you're a bit of shit kind of long enough, then you're going to start believing that you're a bit of shit. And as you say, it's the retraining of the brain to kind of defeat that. Do you know, it's bad enough having that voice in your head that's saying, Tom, Craig, you're worthless, the two of you guys are a piece of shit. It's bad enough something in your mind saying that, never mind your ex-wife or maybe somebody that you don't like, mate. And that's, listen to me, as I say, that's the way that I put it. It is like that big black dog, and you'll have that yourself. I've got one, but my black dog's that size just now, whereas I know with a lot of people, it's massive, do you know?
Huge.
And it's trying to control it, and the reason for these podcasts, and I guess the reason why you're doing what you're doing as well, Tom, it's to try and give men and women these tools that they can use in their everyday life. Like, if I couldn't imagine, well, I'd say that I could imagine what happened the first time you went to the doctor and they said, "Oh, take some pills and get out my office." Do you know, they're very quick, GPs, to get you off the scent. It's like, do you know what, I've done my job. There's some pills. There's a group. Go and speak to them. If you're not interested, then tatty bye. Whereas for me, it's trying to give people those tools to say, have you tried mindfulness? Have you tried meditation? Have you tried reading like you done? It's these things, mate, that I think but we're not that different. Do you know, as I say, even though I'm up here and you're down there with hundreds of miles away, but the same problems in society in London are the exact same that's in Glasgow, that's the exact same that's in Liverpool. But every single person is getting the same treatment off the GP. That it is just, take these pills. If you want to go AA or CA or Gamblers Anonymous, go and do it. But away you go, and it's job done. Do you know? And listen, mate, I doff my cap. What the stuff you're doing is absolutely fantastic. And that brings me on to the next bit about the Madman. Tell everybody about the concept. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Well, I mean, before all of this happened, I didn't have an awareness of the thought process, and I certainly didn't have an awareness or any sort of knowledge that the thought process could be a separate entity, if you want to call it, a separate entity to myself. You know, like there is this kind of more raw, organic version of myself. And then there is a thought process that is an accumulation of life experience. So any thought is effectively memory. And, you know, if you ask me the question, you know, what is my name? The only reason that I can answer that question is because that word Tom is stored in my mind. And I realized that there was a lot of things stored in my mind, and some of them were just reoccurring behavioral patterns and habits and thought processes that actually didn't serve me. So I didn't have any awareness of that. And again, it was running miles and miles every day that made me more aware of the thought process. And I started to then really look inside, I started to, something that I'd never done in my life. And if I'd have ever, when I was at my worst, because, my go-to emotion was anger. I never cried. I just got really, really angry and very sort of self-destructive unto myself, which I think a lot of men can relate to that, 100%. Which is why it seems that a lot of men just go on a self-destructive path, gambling and drinking and drugs. But the thought process, it was so varied, but it was all past experiences, and a lot of it was just outright mad. And I remember saying it for the first time in front of a few people where I held a talk at my gym facility that I run, and I was just saying that I realized that 98% of my thoughts were mad. They weren't serving me any purpose. They were very reactive. Even just my perception, even just about the weather, the amount I complained about things that you can't change. There was a huge sort of like an ungrateful manner about me, and it wasn't intentional. It wasn't that I was actually ungrateful to be here or to be alive, but I certainly wasn't acting and talking like I was grateful. So once I realized all these thoughts were there and that they were coming from my memory store of things that I've picked up over a lifetime, I did realize that actually, no, my life is fresh, and it's fresh right now. And right now I do have an opportunity to speak in any which way that I choose. I have a choice to move in any direction that I choose. And I have a choice to affirm to myself that I am good, that I am strong, that I am worthy, that I am capable. And this is what I started to do. But along that journey, as much as I've transformed myself, I personally, in my experience, do feel that there is this kind of menacing, darker energy. And it's very strange that the majority of people have really sort of in their own interpretation have come up with like this kind of black dog, black cloud, black image. And it's just something that seems to be moving amongst mankind, something that's in us that we can't quite explain. We can't explain why we get so down some days. So this madman interpretation was what I experienced. I didn't experience it as just a negative thought. When I first reached my first stage where I really did start to feel a lot better, much lighter in the head, I remember saying to my fiance at the time, I said, I feel so strange. I feel like a demon's been ripped out of my body, because I didn't have the same like rage in me. I didn't have the same incessant voice. It was so persistent all the time. It was there, and it just started to, quieten and dull down. So yeah, so the madman was literally created from me, just literally looking in.
It's funny when you say that, because I think everybody likes to think that about themselves, that they've got a good side and a bad side.
Yeah.
It's the yin and the yang. It's the good and the bad and the indifferent. It's just the way that we like to think of ourselves as. Mm-hmm. And like when I was younger, I was hell bent on self-destruction. When my marriage collapsed, and same as yourself with the kids, and you're out in a construction environment and it's piss wet, and as Brits we like to have a good moan, and it's wet and it's rainy and it's all these kind of things, and you're going home really dirty, and that stuff gets to you. Do you know? And the way that society told you, Tom, and told me was to get drunk. Do you know, it's go to the pub, get yourself a carry out, get yourself some ecstasy or some cocaine or whatever it may be, and get absolutely shit-faced. And it's the work hard, play hard bullshit as well that I'm trying to do a lot of things in Scotland to try and get away from that stigma, this work hard, play hard nonsense. Because at the end of the day, that lifestyle suited maybe in the 30s and 40s, the 50s. But nowadays, it really doesn't suit. Do you know, when there is some amount of stuff that it's the rise of social media, that's got a lot to do with people's mental health as well. Just now, it plays a big part, and I'm glad to see somebody else that's on that same mindset as myself, that they're just wanting to help. They're wanting people to see the woods for the trees. Do you know? And that to me is so bloody refreshing. And that's why when I saw what you were doing, and somebody had mentioned to me that you were a construction worker as well, I thought, that's my man. Do you know? It's somebody that I can really relate to. And
yeah, I mean, I wasn't actually working in construction. It was just that when I did a podcast, just a video podcast years ago, and it was someone from the construction that saw it, and obviously being a guy, obviously then they kind of, because I was just so forthright with the things that I said and the way that I said it, I wasn't speaking from an intellectual mind that had done a mental health first aid course. It was just raw and organic. So I think they thought at the time that I might be able to connect with some of the guys just through the sheer honesty.
So do you think, like, I mean, I worked my way up to health and safety manager, and I'm a health and safety guy just now. The way that I talk to the men and the way I treat the men is with the utmost respect, because I was there and I've been there, seen it, done it, and wore the t-shirt. I think that's the important thing. Do you think that's from yourself, Tom? Like, you come across as that half-bull guy. I certainly wouldn't mess with you. Do you know? You're a big solid dude. Do you know? And I certainly wouldn't like a slap in the face off you, mate. But do you think that's something that we need more of, is guys like yourself, like myself, to be speaking up and to get these guys and say, listen, it's okay for you to get a bit upset if you're starting to really feel it. And listen, mate, I was the exact same as you. I remember I didn't cry for about 10, 12 years, and I was tallying the years up as if that was some kind of bloody prize, do you know? And I can remember doing it, and it wasn't until I had a nervous breakdown, that the same as yourself, that I tried to wonder why I was acting so feminine, because society told me that I've got to man up and I've got to get on with it, get back out in the rain, get another drink, take another line, whatever it may be, just get fucking on with it and make sure you're at your work tomorrow morning. Do you know?
Well, it's funny you say that, because there's almost like, there almost is some sort of truth in the what that saying "man up" means, which is basically like you saying, "Come on, like get up and get on with it," right? There is some truth in it, but the getting up and the getting on with it that we know is self-destructive. Right. So I realized that when I was down, I had to say to myself, I can't take this no more. You've got to do something about this now. So I get out this time and I start running. I don't go and get some cocaine and sniff a line. I don't go and get a bottle of vodka and a bottle of cider and smash the life out of that. I get out and I run. And I run and I run and I run. And when I start feeling weak and tired from the run, I remember how ferocious I was with the drinking and how ferocious and unstoppable I was with the drugs. So I say, no, come on, you got to move now, because it was all well and good. You were so persistent with that lifestyle. Now you've got to be persistent with the right lifestyle. And that really, you know, that it does have some truth in a way, because we do all need to stand up. We need to take control. We need to take responsibility for ourselves, but we need to do it in the right way. And in doing it in the right way, it may mean crying first. It might mean you have to admit that you're actually weak. You're a man. You're a guy, you know, you got tattoos, you're a proper lad, you know, you're a tough guy, but essentially you have weakness inside of you. You can't cope with life because you're turning to drink, you're turning to drugs, you're turning to gambling. This is not coping with life. This is distracting from life. But I totally get also still even now on this side of the fence, I get why guys do it. Because, you know, like you just said as well, the work hard, play hard mentality, you know, what we need a release, and society has not given us, the educational system has not given us one single valid coping strategy for the life that they educated us for. The job that they educated us for, they didn't tell us that it was going to be brutally tough and that you were going to have money problems, money worries, money concern, relationship concerns. They didn't tell us that you were going to have marriage breakups and all these things. They didn't prep us for the fact that our wife might cheat on us or we might cheat on our partner. And none of this was prepped for. And this is what life is and seems to be the unison thing. These are the problems that are prevalent, and everybody copes through distractive mechanisms, which isn't coping, but they think it is, because obviously we do feel good when we have a drink. It did silence my mind. Cocaine did silence my mind. Ecstasy completely silenced my mind, and I just would have given anything for a break from my head at that time, and a break from what I saw as a monotonous rat race lifestyle. So I totally understand why people do it, and to me, it's sad. And it's criminal that whilst the stats continue to rise, whilst the body count of death keeps building up, while the body count still building, nothing is being done, in my mind, decisive enough and quick enough in the educational process. I've worked with numerous schools, and they're like literally clutching at straws at the minute in some of the schools around here. They don't know what to do. They're inundated with dysfunctional children, self-harm, violence, knife. I'm like, when are people going to just say, right, everyone stop. This is enough now. This is ridiculous. And we have to change, and we have to change now. I don't understand why that a manner of action, that type of action, is not being taken. It doesn't, unless it is, and at the moment no one can see it, but I can't see it. Like, so
I personally can't see it, mate. And it doesn't matter if it's the British government or the Scottish government or whoever it is. They seem to bury their head in the sand. And as I said, I mean, I work in construction, and 2 people every week are taking their own lives, and that's fucking disgusting. And
it's so disgusting.
If that happened in a building site, the HSE would shut the building.
Listen, I'm so glad you said that, because when they pulled me into construction for the first time, I went home that day and cried. And the reason I cried is because I had all these guys in shirt and ties asking me, right, who knows nothing at the time. I'd obviously changed my life, fair enough. I'd done a few podcasts and spoke honestly, but in terms of actually knowing anything about this situation truly, and knowing anything about brain science or not, you know, anything like that, I didn't know anything. They were asking me with a sort of desperate look, do you think you can help? And I'm looking at the stats, and I'm thinking, you lot need to down tools. Yeah, men are dying. You need to down tools. You need to stop what you're doing. But of course, that's not going to happen. And the reason it's not going to happen is because of money. And money seems to be ruling through everything. It seems to be illogical and irrational. Profit gain seems to be what's up there. You know, it seems to be what is the way that people's minds are working. Is it logical, irrational? Profit? No, we still have to make money. We'll have to just talk about this another time. Deal with this another time. It's crazy.
A prime example of that, Tom. I mean, there was a company I worked for, and I'd said to them, I said, listen, I'll do awareness sessions. I'll do whatever it takes. I'm a qualified mental health first aider. Qualified suicide awareness and prevention first aider. All these different things. And I was saying to them, listen, I'll do it for nothing. I'll do it for fucking nothing. other than the fact of helping people.
Yeah.
And their point back to me was that we've got to take guys off the tools. So
Yes. Yeah.
that's it. It's always going to be non-productive, mate.
Yeah, totally.
If a guy gets home and takes his own life, they don't care. It's the Health and Safety at Work Act. It's not the Health and Safety in the House Act.
That's right.
Unfortunately, mate, that's the way that a lot of these guys act.
Yeah.
And there's got to be something. There is something big coming on and it's scratching the surface. There is a lot of people out there doing some great work just now. I was going to name them there, but I'll leave that. I think they know who they are. But there's a lot of charities out there that are doing a lot of good work as well. But it's that thing again, Tom. It's you, it's me, it's the charities. There's not a fucking penny coming from Westminster or Holyrood. There is not a fucking penny, and that is the problem. The hospitals are fucking inundated with people that are coming in. They've tried to take their own lives, or they've overdosed, or I mean, alcohol. What was it? They said something like, was it 80% of A&E inpatients at the weekend are full of drinking drugs? 80%. Do you know? And that's. But again, there's society telling you that when you're 18, when you're of age, the first thing you've got to do is go to the pub and make an absolute tit of yourself. Go and get as drunk as you can and get fucking sloshed. And that's the British culture. That's what that's what I was brought up on. You were brought up in the exact same thing. And it's the way that I'm looking at it just now, mate, is how do we make this bloody change? Me personally, I'm thinking you've got to go into the schools, you've got to chat to these young ones and really drill into their heads. And like I turned 40 tail end of last year, and I'm thinking to myself, I would rather do it before I'm an older dude, because the young ones might listen to me. If I'm a 40-year-old guy, you know, that's not over the hill yet in their eyes, that you're still kind of semi-relatable. And I think that's the only way that you can bloody get to these kids and get them off their bloody mobiles and just start to listen, because you're right. They don't, there is nothing in that school curriculum that is going to say, listen, if you're stressed or you're anxious, take 10 minutes, go and sit in a quiet room, just practice your breathing. There is absolutely nothing out there. And it's bloody criminal. And the suicide rates in primary schools as well. And primary schools, and it's getting fucking through the roof. And I did have the figures there, but and mother briefcase, but it is going through the roof, mate.
It's funny one as well with stats, because now the crazy thing is now, and obviously I have a lot of people from my business, you know, parents and stuff like that. I'm just hearing about it left, right, and centre. So you don't even have to look at stats now. You can feel it in the air. Everyone you talk to. I lost someone close to me just recently as well through suicide, and it's just everywhere. It's just everywhere, and it's almost incomprehensible. It seems such a fast rate of this. It's a very confusing time. And a very unwell time, physically and mentally, for humans, I feel.
Again, mate, and I sat in on we had a meeting tail end of last year down in London, and everybody was saying, like, there was the head of HR, and he's writing on the board, what things make you anxious? And it was the war in Ukraine, and these poor kids getting blown up, and the cost of living crisis, and the cost of fuel, and I'm sitting there going, exact same as you. I'm sitting going, I can't control that. I can't control that. And that's me from being maybe 10, 15 years ago. I would have been a nervous wreck thinking about stuff like that. Whereas now I look at it and I say, listen, I really, really do sympathise. Turkey, for instance, Turkey and Syria with the earthquake. I really, really, really sympathise with these people. But in all honesty, there is absolutely, for Craig Payton or Tom Pace, there is absolutely nothing that we can do about it. And for you and I to get really upset about it, we can sympathise, but at the end of the day, you and I can't physically go over there and make a difference, mate. And I think that's key to a lot of the way that people think nowadays. It's it's having that in your brain to distance yourself from these kind of things. But, and again, it's like, even, like, I was telling somebody a story the other day, and I used to judge success on money. I always looked at success as having money, right? And I told this story the other day. I used to have this Hugo Boss watch, right? Poser. It was a total poser thing, right? So it was maybe £400-500 sitting in my watch, sitting on my wrist. And see, now all I've got is 2 Buddhist bracelets, and that's just to remind me to take a bit of time to myself and meditate. And I tell that story to young guys, and they go, "Have you kept the watch? Have you still got it? Can I get it?" But it's to show these guys that it's happiness is the key to life, and that's that's really it, buddy.
Totally.
But listen, mate, it's, as I say, I thought I would bring you on just for a chat.
Fantastic,
Could you tell everybody, like, do you get any advice for anybody in saying that, Tom, just before we go?
Yeah, I think my advice is, if you are struggling, is for you to firstly, understand that it can change, that there isn't a state of mind that is permanent, and that there's a science in that. There's a science in that. I think I'm about to lose my battery. Yeah, there's a science in how you can turn positive energy into negative energy, negative energy into positive. Okay, so it can change. It's for the individual to have a burning desire to change. And then once that burning desire is there, the journey should then be organic, because that person would naturally start looking out. There are numerous, wisdom pots out there now about breath work, about meditation. For me, exercise, for me personally, has been my number one savior. And learning how to cope with the stress of exercise, so putting myself in a really uncomfortable kind of exercise state with high intensity exercise. But not everyone can exercise. So, there's a thing called forest bathing, which is a Japanese mindfulness tool, which is going out into nature, immersing yourself in the surroundings, and, actually feeling the leaves, feeling the trees, looking and listening. Yeah. I really believe that it can be a really, really great organic journey for the person. I don't think there's one suitable tool. I think everybody's different, and I think if they start to look outwardly, then if the passion to move away from their negative state is there, and they're very earnest with the steps that they take, then they will find their way. Because everyone that I know that's transformed has almost done it that way. Their own suffering has spawned them. Has pushed them forward in this new direction. And then you've just got to have the courage to just keep walking and keep walking. And it's not an easy ride. It was never a smooth journey for me, but just keep moving, keep moving. Going. Yeah, keep going.
It's funny when you mention that, because the way that I looked at life, and I tell the story all the time, it's when I was drinking, I had a pair of blinkers on. I was like a horse, and I couldn't see anything else apart from that pint in front of me. Yeah. And the minute I stopped and I started doing mindfulness meditation, reading books, getting out into nature, the blinkers fell off, and I see everything now. I can see 360 all around about me, and I bet you feel the exact same, because you're at peace. You've made peace with your past. And again, that's something else that if anybody else is listening, that I'd stress to them, it's just, again, not the bad feelings will go, the clouds will lift. There is positivity out there, and it's just making that bloody change and not beating yourself up about the past.
No,
cutting the past is the past.
Yeah,
the old saying, the past's the past, and today's a gift because it's the present. Yeah, and that's all you can do, mate. Is make the most of your day, and just.
And it's so true, though. That's the thing. It's so true, and. In my worst of days, if I'd have been listening to someone like you saying that, I'd have been going, you don't fucking know what you're talking about, fuck off. So for anyone listening, I was that man. I was that fucking, you can stick your positivity up your fucking arse. You don't know what's going on inside my head. Okay, so I was that. So it's true. What you said is true. Right now, it is a gift, because you have an opportunity. And the opportunity is right now for you to change. It just takes one step and another step. And like you say, don't beat yourself up over anything that's happened. Make peace with your past. And any mistakes that you make along the way, no problem. Just learn from them and put them to bed straight away and move on. So
yeah. Listen, mate, that's great.
Lovely.
Great note to finish on, mate. Listen,
yeah,
God bless you, big man.
God bless you, man. Thank you.
You're a good lad.
Yeah, nice chat.
And I know, listen, I'll text you after this, and I'm sure we'll be friends. And if there's anything,
100%.
if there's anything I can think of, if there's anybody I know down in London, listen, I'll put them through to you, mate.
Yeah.
And again, listen, we'll do this again, but we'll do it in person. Do you know? Because I'm down in London quite a lot for the football. So listen, mate, I'll pop in. Tell everybody quickly before you go, where can they catch you?
Yeah, so with obviously all the mindset stuff is Unstoppable Mindset 1 on Instagram, and then the YouTube channel is Unstoppable Mindset. If they put Unstoppable Mindset Madman, then it will all definitely just come up. All right.
I'll keep sharing it. I'll keep sharing it, mate, because I think it's fucking genius. I love it. Absolutely fantastic.
Thanks, man.
Couldn't praise it more, mate. But listen, I'll let you go, buddy.
Peace, Craig. Take it easy, man.
Fantastic, mate.
Yeah, listen, really nice chatting to you, man.
Take care, buddy.
Take care,
brother.
soon. Take care. Bye bye.
Cheers, brother.